Welcome everybody. Just give a couple more minutes just to wait for people to filter in and then we'll get started. Thank you for joining us today, everyone. My name's Ed Patterson. I'm the Customer Support Manager here at Workbooks, if you don't already know me. So we will kick off the webinar now, and hopefully people will filter in. Just a reminder, this webinar will be recorded and a link to the recording will be sent out after the webinar. So if you do have colleagues who want to see it, then please do forward it on to them. And for all those who've registered but aren't attending today will also receive that recording. So today, as the title suggests, we are doing a webinar on the project record. Now, for those of you who were here on our webinar in September, we went over some enhancements and features. We gave an overview of those, and we're running a couple of webinars in these couple of months to dig a bit deeper into some of the key enhancements so that you, as our users, can make the best use of them and enjoy the benefits that we hope you see from them. So today's agenda, we are looking at the project records, and I will give a quick recap of what is the project record for those of you who weren't on that webinar in October. I will be discussing how could you actually use the project record. What are some examples of use cases? How could this record link to other areas of Workbooks? And then we'll go into a little bit about the customization of the project records. And then finally, I'll just have a summary of some need to know so you can really get going with this record and use it for a multitude of examples. Now, questions, please. We are always listening to your questions. Please do pop them in the question panel throughout, and I will attempt to answer the most relevant ones at the end of the session. But if you do not get your question answered, but you have put one in the question panel, then don't worry, we will follow up after this session so that we can answer that question for you. So without further ado, what is the project records? So this is a brand new record type that we have shipped from our September release. It is designed to allow you to manage your complex work across the business whilst maintaining it, all under one roof. It is available to all those users who have pro licenses. However, it does need to be switched on, and we are actively developing this at the moment to include deeper functionality, which will really help you manage your projects, both internal and external. When we are talking about the project record, we're talking about a way in which you have multiple small tasks to complete by potentially different people, and you need a way to track this and make sure it is all kept in one bucket under one roof, as I mentioned. So a little bit like Asana or Trello, something like that. So it really is best used when you need to create multiple tasks quickly and easily, and this will be done using edit grid, you need to be able to track the progress of those tasks, and actually you'll be able to manage them within one place. So they're easy to find, easy to update for all those that need to. And actually you can very easily have regular project catch-ups. They're all in one place, so you can see an overview of what's going on, and that, to be for an example, would be in the Kanban view, which I'm sure some of you will be familiar with if you've used Trello before, or perhaps you want an update on a specific project task, and that can be done via just by commenting on the task, and that is all kept in one place in the project. So I've got a couple of examples here, but by all means they're not limited to those. I'm sure you have many use cases within your own businesses. So one example is perhaps an implementation of a new website or rebranding of a website, for example. This is something that would involve multiple parties. You need somewhere to track this project and check things are running smoothly at all times. So it's something where you could actually use the Kanban view that comes with this project records to regularly review it with all the parties involved in regular meetings. And actually the key to this is that you can customize your own statuses within the project records, so they can be appropriate for the type of tasks involved, because that might be a very big project that involves lots of different things, but it is very specific to marketing perhaps. Whereas if we go on a slightly micro level to something like team meetings. Now, team meetings, they should probably happen regularly, and you might need a place to keep track of what actions come out of that meeting. So this, using a project records, is one way that you can do this in order to produce those tasks quickly and easily. You can assign them out, and you can actually add a due date and perhaps a start and finish time as well, right there and then. So it really is, it can be used on lots of different things, whether it be with multiple parties, whether it be just an individual task list for yourself. And as mentioned, we are working hard to develop it so that these use cases can be even more expansive in the future. So do look out for communications on that coming up. So how does one set one up? Well, to start with, you need a pro license, as I mentioned right at the beginning. And also you will need access to configuration. So for those of you on the webinar today who aren't system administrators, please do get in touch with your system administrator to help you do this. But once you've got those, then what do you actually need to do? Well, you need to switch it on. And I would say you need to decide on appropriate project task statuses. This is the customization part. So what will you expect each stage status to say within that particular project? You'll then create one. You can create an update project task, assign them out, and then you're ready to go. So it's very simple. And I'm going to switch into the product to show you what this looks like. So here I'm logged into a database, and this could be yours. When I open my start menu, I don't see project records. Now, as some of you may have come across this already, where you're wondering, we've released project records, but I can't see it in my start menu. Well, this is where you have to switch it on. So I'm going to enter configuration. Just give it a moment to warm up. And then I'm going to go into account settings and licenses and modules. Now, I know that I've got a Business Pro license, for example, so I know I have the ability to have projects. I'm going to go to modules, and then by scrolling down, I can find projects, tick that box, save and close. and then I will need to log out and log in again, but that's very easily done. So now, when I open the Start menu, I will see a projects record. So I'm going to open the projects records, open the landing page. And here, as you can see, it's very much similar to any other landing page. I'm going to just go through the process of creating a new project. So here we go, clicking on new projects. Now, as you can see, quite some straightforward fields here. I want to name this, and since we're a software company, I'm perhaps going to put this as product release project. This is a project to track the latest release. Now, this one is assigned to me because I'm the project manager here. And then I'll definitely have an end date to this project. So I will choose an end date. Perhaps it's January the 1st. Now, the status for this at the moment is new. And if this is an external project for a particular customer, I can certainly add that here into this field here. But if it's internal, and we are talking internal here, perhaps I don't need to do that for today. So I'm going to save that. Now, when I mentioned project task statuses, this is something that is within each individual project record. So in this tab here, project task statuses, I've got some standard statuses here that actually I might want to edit because I know that these aren't necessarily appropriate for this particular project. So I'm going to, in fact, add a status, and it might be under review. That's going to be the value that shows. And it's worth noting that at the bottom of the screen, you'll see associated record state, and it's open here. Now, for all those statuses, until you actually complete them, until you complete the task, they will be open. But you want to make sure that if you do have a closed complete status, that actually the associated state is closed, so that you don't end up with tasks that are still open yet the project is finished. So as you can see, I've got an under review status here. So therefore, I can actually assign that status to any new project task that I create. So project tasks. In this tab, project tasks, you can see here we are in edit grid mode at the moment, which means I have the ability to create tasks very easily, very quickly. For example, I might do a brainstorm for the product. And I might have a due date for this. And this due date might be on the 10th, but I may want to actually, let's start it on the 9th. That would be a good thing. And well, I'm going to planning on finishing it perhaps in a particular time. So within the widget, I've actually got a time possibility. Let me just choose a time. Perhaps that is by 2:30 p.m. for example. So I'm starting at 2:30, finishing at midnight. That's rather a long brainstorm, but you get the picture. And then I might have one more, which is to do with QA. And actually, I might assign this out to someone else. So I can edit that. I can change to Alison Jones, for example. And this QA, I know, will be due actually on the 11th without a start time at this point. So as you can see, we've got the task name, we've got assigned to, and then I want to actually assign the statuses. So QA, for example, might be under review. If this was more granular, you'd expect a different task which would be under review. And actually, once I've actually assigned that this project task out, I might have it allocated. Those statuses are, as I've mentioned, individual to this project. Oh, that would help. So I'm just going to, that is because I've set midnight when I shouldn't. So I'm going to just remove the times for now. We'll just I'll add, sorry about this, just a small screen. Let's type in the time, for example, 5:30 p.m. on the 9th, and I'm going to start this at 9 o'clock in the morning on the 9th, on the 10th, so it's a very long one. So as you can see, I've got 2 tasks that have been created. I've saved them. If I take them out of edit grid mode, I can now look into these project tasks and I can edit more fields which I think are necessary, if it's more of a description in there. So you see I can access the project task from here. It is worth mentioning, and it's a really key point here, is that project tasks, as they are called in a project record, are in fact just a form layout of tasks with a type project, and that type will be read only. So that's really the way you know, and so that form layout can be customized. But as a regular user of the project records, the key bit of customization is in the project task statuses that are appropriate for the project you're running. So as you can see, I've got on my screen, I've got 2 pre-prepared projects. We've got the team meeting and the website rebrand. So if I click into the website rebrand, you can see this is for a customer. So I've filled in the customer field at the bottom. I've got a few tasks here. Now, these are very high level tasks. I appreciate they might not be actual marketing tasks, but you can see the status itself, I have customized. So if I look in project task statuses, I've got lots of different ones here that are appropriate for this particular project. And then if I was to get out of that and go into the team meeting project, you can see I've created very quickly to account for any actions in my team meeting, and actually the statuses themselves are the standard ones that come with it. So I can just very easily edit things. I can very easily assign tasks, and we can get up and running with a project. So you see, those are 2 examples of use cases for this. But then the question becomes, how does this relate to other areas of Workbooks? Well, as with any other record within your CRM, you're looking to have the relevant info at your fingertips so you can drive actions and get results. And these project tasks, as I mentioned, are a type of task, and therefore can be accessed and edited from multiple areas. So for example, you may regularly access your activities landing page like this. And I can see in my open activities, what I have here is actually the project tasks that are assigned to me. And the way I know they are the project tasks, well, they've got a parent record. And that parent record shows me which project they are related to. So you can see that I can get these from the activities page. And if I actually wanted to schedule some of these activities, so as some of you, hopefully all of you are aware, you now have this view called My Activities, which defaults to a calendar view. Excuse me. And you can see I put a brainstorm in there that is sort of an all day. I might want to schedule that differently, but for now I'll leave it in there. What I'm actually going to do is to I might move this meeting, for example. This is like any other task. I might move this meeting to a different time. I can drag and drop it in the calendar, and then I can save that. And this will be covered more in our upcoming webinar around how to plan your day using activities, how you might want to schedule your time. So you have a due date, but actually you want to schedule a particular time in which you complete that work. But those tasks will be appearing in this view, much like in the My Open Activities, and you can view it as you wish. So, for example, Another way you could use this project records and use these tasks is when you're having reviews of your particular project. And this is something I've actually just missed. So I'm going to go back into my project. And if I've got multiple parties that are working on these different projects, I might have a Teams call or a meeting, and I might want to see this in a more visual way. And for that, I'm going to use Kanban view. So this view comes with the project records, so I can see all my activities in this view, which many of you will be familiar with. Many of you will be familiar with this view from other project management software or websites, where you can actually drag and drop your tasks based on the categorization here. So I've got it categorized by status, and if I decide that something is not actually reviewed, I need to move it a forward one to migration schedules. I might move it there, I can save it, and that has actually changed the status in the records itself. And actually, if I did want to, if I wanted to open the records, I can open it from there, and I can also configure how these pages look. So I could actually have a due date in this card. If I update that, then if any of these had a due date, they would show a due date on that card. So you can see this is also a very customizable view. You can categorize them by the different fields within your project tasks, but it could be an example of where you could use this on regular catch-ups with your teams to ensure that everything is going to plan, and you can move things around as you see fit. So we've seen the activities landing page. We've seen you can use within the project record, you could actually move things around in the Kanban view. But perhaps you might also want to see this on a dashboard, for example. So on my springboards, I have sales management dashboards. I may want to actually add these project tasks to this dashboard. So I'm going to go in and edit this dashboard, look at the layouts, and actually I'm going to add, and I have built a report previously for this. So I'm going to add a report to this dashboard with my project tasks to be completed. If I add that to the dashboard, I've got it right there. And I know that this report has been built to be just my project tasks. So I have them with a due date there, so I know what needs to be prioritized. So you see these records can be used, can be surfaced elsewhere in the product to make life a lot easier for you and your users. So we've looked at where things can be used. I'd like to go a little bit further into customization. So we've seen how we can customize project task statuses by each individual user who owns this project. But actually, like any other record within Workbooks, this can also be customized. So, but it is worth noting that the project records involves two records. You've got the project itself, and you've got the task, which is a task of type project. So to customize the project record itself, I'm going to go into configuration, and I obviously have to have access to configuration to go in there. Customization, record types, and then we've got projects. Now this is the bucket record projects. I can see I've set up a form layout here, and we would always advise to change fields, etc., on a form layout to show things or hide things at a form layout level. For example, I have decided that my projects are I've got rather a lot on at the moment. So you can see I've got 3 projects going. I don't know which one to prioritize. And so I might want to actually add a field onto this project records that I can, when I create a project, I can prioritize it at the point of creation. And then that will appear on this view. So if I go back into my project layout, I've actually created a field, a custom field in advance of this webinar that says priority. I'm going to show it. I'm going to show it on the layout. Save and close. And if I created a new project, excuse me, I now have a field at the bottom of the screen there called priority. And I've added this as a pick list, so I can immediately create a priority here, new project. And I can then expose that column in this landing page view, and I can see what priorities my projects are. So that is a way of going a little level further and customizing a form layout to include a new custom field. And in much the same way, you can customize the project task itself. So just remember that when we're talking about project tasks, these tasks are a regular task, but of type project. So I'm going to go into customization again. Configuration, customization, record types. And then actually, if I go into tasks, and then I go into form layouts, you will see there is a layout called project task. Now, this is the one that you would customize, or you would copy to make a new form layout, and then you can also edit any form layout rules that you want for those tasks. So those are the two record types that you have to be concerned about when customizing the project records. So we have looked at the fact that you have to customize the project and the task, and we've also seen that actually the user themselves can customize the project task statuses, so it doesn't have to be a system administrator in order to do that. So just a reminder, there are some screenshots. And as I mentioned, this is just to summarize so everyone's got it in front of them, project tasks can be accessed anywhere tasks can be, and they can be edited, updated, as you've seen. One thing I haven't mentioned yet is the fact that comments were released in September as well, and those comments, project records are some of the records that can be commented on, and this might be a great way of collaborating with other people within your business who are working on your projects when you've need to get updates. And then finally, the parent records, as you saw within the grid view when we looked at the landing page for activities, there was a column that shows parent record. It's just a very quick and easy way to identify what the tasks are related to help you really prioritize what you're working on. So finally, the need to knows for this. As I have mentioned numerous times, users must have a pro license to be able to access the project's module, and it must be switched on. There are capabilities that are associated with the project's module. These have actually been added automatically to the Everyone user group. And when customizing projects, you have the statuses that you can customize, but beyond that, for system administrators, there are two areas to think about: the project record, but also the task layout. So to summarize what we've covered today, we've had a brief overview of what the project record is, some examples of use cases, including a slightly bigger project and really on a micro scale of a team meeting, perhaps even a task list it can be used for. We've looked at how projects can be customized. We've looked at where those project tasks can be found and surfaced for use in your everyday working and prioritization. And finally, just some need to knows. So with that, I think we will look towards the questions, but before we move into those specifically, I'm going to just switch back into the products. There's one area which I didn't spend a lot of time on that I think would be useful to show, which is the Kanban view. I think not many people would have seen this in action. So what I'm going to do is just jump back into a project. Let's go into this website rebrand project. I've got the Kanban view already set up here. And actually, if I wanted to, one thing you would have noticed is the fact that I've had to scroll across from side to side, but you may not want that when you're seeing in one screen and you want to actually make sure that everything is in one view. I can adjust the columns here. So I can see multiple statuses. So if you are having that group call with your team, you want to be able to see what each task, how it is categorized. So that's just something there, and as I mentioned, these can be, the actual cards themselves can be configured, but you can also change, if you need to change the status by another way, you can open this little arrow, and then you can change the status. You can open the record as you see fit. So that was just something that was highlighted, that you may need to see all of the Kanban columns, as we call them. Do we have any other questions? Bear with me for a second whilst I check. Seems like we have covered most things today already, and any questions may have been answered during the session. So if you do have any further questions, then please don't hesitate to contact us at support@workbooks.com through your authorized support contact if you are not one, or do give us a call and we will be happy to help. And do look out for communication on our upcoming webinar on how to manage your everyday workload. Thank you very much for attending, and we will send out the recording after the webinar.